Fitz of Writing.
Good evening, scribbles and scratches of the Fitz of Writing community. I'm your host tonight, Sean Fitzgerald, and I am sitting here with the camera list, Francis Morgan III. He wants to sit down, discuss the book. So, just to be perfectly, make sure that I'm being perfectly right here, it's not published yet, right?
Correct. Well, it's available to read, but it has not been commercially published yet.
Okay. So, plans for that coming up here soon?
I would like to get that done. I did a little test trial on Amazon Kindle, and I have no idea how to work the thing yet. So I have some homework to do, but I'm looking to get that all put together and finish the last few revisions because I rewrote the ending, so I had to get rid of the last existing versions and update.
Gotcha. Yeah, it always stinks when you have to go back and mess with something.
And redrafting and scripting and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it messes with it. And the best advice that I can give you is watch YouTube videos on how to self-publish and everything. That kind of is what got me, as well as Ryan, through the first time we published anything on our own. So tell me a little bit about how your overall story begins. I believe in your submission you mentioned that you started writing at the age of 11 after you watched Death Note?
Something like that. It must have been, I think I watched Death Note in 2009 because I remember it was the summer after my 4th grade year that I had my best friend Alicia over, and we were watching anime all night long, and we were like, what is Death Note? And it changed our lives. Anyway, I didn't really write any Death Note fan fiction, but I got into the band Nightmare, the Japanese visual kei band Nightmare, and I started writing fan fiction of them like rapid fire nonstop. But it was not like yaoi. It was not like the typical fan fiction being written about this band. It was science fiction horror because that was more my vibe.
Okay. And you did that for a number of years, but you said at the age of 16 you kind of switched gears and went to go do something that was completely original from then on out. And you said you've got something like 500,000 words to your original name now. Have you published anything in the past, or?
I have trouble with finishing things, and so I have 100 stories that have started, and some that I have like 70 to 120 pages on that I just haven't finished. And I still have like a list of documents that I keep organized on my desktop for. They're organized by chronological year of the story, and then there's like usually an abbreviation for the name, and I have them all laid out so that I know which ones are like almost finished and which ones are like getting ready to like become more of a working concept and which ones are not really fleshed out yet.
I gotcha. Okay. I was guilty of that at one point, of not being able to finish an idea that I thought was good enough to get started. And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing or anything. The way I wrote back then was kind of by the seat of my pants, and now when I do write, I'm writing with trying to stick pretty closely to an outline so that I know where I'm going point by point. Is that like your writing style, or do you just kind of go and see where the story takes you?
It really depends, because sometimes I can come out with a really great outline that I feel like really strongly about, and I think this would be a really compelling story, and I think that people would enjoy reading this. And then when I get it all lined up, my brain just goes, oh, well, now that we've written that down, we don't have to do anything, right? And I'm like, no, this is the best part. You're supposed to enjoy writing this.
Yeah. Writing sucks when it's not being any fun. And
yeah,
I know getting
when
stuck
you have to do the hard part. Yeah,
the hard part is the worst part. Shocker. That just felt dumb to say, but
it's the rewarding part.
Once you get past it, yeah. But Well,
Yeah.
if you ever get stuck, do you have anybody that you reach out to that you kind of bounce ideas off of? I know that I had to do that when I was writing Bleeding the Divine. I needed kind of a I wound up just sticking with a dumb luck moment, like an extreme coincidence, but I had three ideas and I bounced them off a friend. And
Hmm.
I had the one that I really, really liked, and then I had two that made probably a little bit more sense. And I asked him which one to pick, told him which one to pick, and then I didn't go with any of them.
I know that feeling.
Anybody in particular that would you say, like, you bounce ideas off of before, during, or after?
I have a few close friends, and what it usually ends up being is like a couple times a day, I hit them with, would this scenario be really messed up or what? And they're like, yeah, that would be really messed up, but you know what would make it worse? And I'm like, oh, tell me. And usually I have these snowballs with my friends. We're usually just messing around, and they're like, you don't take that seriously, right? And I'm like, no, that would absolutely be something I would write.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
I,
it just snowballs into something that's more insane, then well,
yeah,
I guess that'd be a good time to kind of mention that the book that you're wanting to talk about right now, or the novel, the story
is
is,
kind of insane.
well, from the first chapter that I read, yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
horror, to some degree, thriller, and kind of like a, would you call it, a cyber stalking story and everything. And
Hmm.
I did think that it was really interesting that you are one of the applicants for the season who you wrote a main character that is you struggle to call a protagonist. So, what
Yes.
made you decide to write somebody whose point of view that the reader takes, but they also wind up hating them?
I have always been a really big fan of revenge movies. And the first revenge movie that I ever saw was Return to Sender, starring Rosamund Pike and Shiloh Fernandez. And I watched it, I think, when I was 14 or 15, and it just kind of like got in my head. And it's not the most graphic. I mean, you have like movies like I Spit on Your Grave, where like the torture and the horrible brutalness goes on for like the majority of the entire book, but like, no, sorry, the movie. But with Return to Sender, it was kind of simple, but that was just like, I wanted to write a revenge story because in Return to Sender, the story is that this woman is sexually assaulted in the home that she's trying to sell, and it causes her market value to completely plummet. She can no longer sell the house. She gets stressed out at work. She loses a promotion opportunity. It just, everything in her life starts to fall apart because she was assaulted by this man in her home, and he's convicted and imprisoned, and she starts writing him letters. And the whole movie, it's, I'm going to give spoilers here, so if you want to see this, don't listen. But for the whole movie, she's like getting closer with him, and they're having difficult discussions about human nature and like why he is the way he is and why he did that to her. And you start to think that they're becoming friends, and at the last minute she just knocks him out with antifreeze and like takes him apart in her basement. And it's a complete 180, and that got me thinking. I thought, oh my god, I want to see more where there's a very obviously ill and unkind individual who is making nice with a woman who he thinks is his prey or his victim, and she completely turns it around on him. Is That's kind of, I know that's a long-winded explanation, but that's kind of where it all started, was with Return to Sender. That movie got me started on this genre.
Okay, I, I've never heard of that movie. I don't believe I have seen Spit on Your Grave, so I understand that much of the concept.
Mhm.
So, would it be fair to guess that, like, Emery is the main character of your story, and he's
Yes.
biting off more than he's aware that he's going to be chewing?
Yeah.
I think that that's an interesting concept. It would be a fun read, especially if you're into something. Would you say that the horror aspect comes from the surprise of those consequences, or is it like a gory book? What about it is horror to you?
It gets gory. It's one thing about it is that it's kind of psychological, and the whole time he thinks that he has the upper hand until there's just a small fracture in his plan, and then everything falls apart.
So the only fan fiction that you wrote was just this nightmare band fan fiction? Like what kind of
so
what kind
between
of
11 and 16, that's several years of fan fiction and a few fandoms that I went through. So I would not say that that was the only fan fiction that I wrote, but a large margin of the first fan fiction that I wrote, like, initially I wrote a book with my own characters that was about 72 pages, and I was really happy with it, but I didn't feel the drive or the passion to finish it. And then I discovered Nightmare, and I really loved their music. Their lyrics are important and emotional to me. They were a part of my music taste developing growing up. They're just so influential in my life. But I started writing, picturing them as the characters. It was like, this is so much easier to write, and it felt much better, and it felt more fulfilling to write it. But then when I was like 16, I realized that I had a lot of unique ideas that I felt like I was wasting by connecting them to properties that already exist. I thought that by making fan fiction, I was wasting the potential of my own ideas. And so I made a tough decision when I was 16 to just start putting all of my own ideas into the same literary universe. And I started working on that. And I want to say it was around 2013 when I started the literary universe, and around, like, I want to say I don't know what year it was. What year was I 16? I can't do math, but I was about 16 when I stopped writing fan fiction and exclusively started writing original fiction.
So everything that you've written, though, shares a universe? Kind of like
Yes.
Stephen King through the Dark Tower and all that stuff?
Yeah. It's Room with a View does not get into the universe much. The original ending kind of got into the lore just a little bit, but Room with a View really only scratches the surface on the lore. The universe is meant to be post-apocalyptic, but I've written several precursor stories to establish a baseline of what the world is like before it all goes to hell.
Ah, okay. All right.
And so the lore is present throughout, but it's not introduced until conveniently in the year 2020, when I was so sick of hearing about COVID that I started writing about my own apocalypse to sort of just try to forget about what was happening in the world.
That was one way to get by it. That was when...
I was like, oof. I was like, what if I write something infinitely worse that sounds horrible, and I would definitely die if I was the case, so...
I'm sure that was a great feeling and tons of fun.
Oh yeah, no, it helped me. It helped in a way, because I was like, well, thank God that's not happening.
Oh, I got it. Look at the negative to see the positive. Let me say this. Have you had anybody kind of scoff at you when they find out that you started off doing fan fiction? I know that some people really turn their nose up at it, even if they find out that you've done it at all, and I don't understand that, because it's a great practice method where you don't necessarily have to be bogged down with all the same ideas, but still get the practice in writing, and I think that it can be a valuable tool, and it seems like it kind of served you that purpose where you got a feel for writing, you enjoyed the craft of it, and just kind of grew from there until you had your own ideas that you felt, okay, I can take this and put it into my own literary universe that I actually have built from scratch. So nobody's ever given you any flack or anything about writing fan fiction, have they?
Well, when I started writing and publishing my original fan fiction, so I publish mostly on AO3 to get feedback. That's Archive of Our Own, and that's if you're not familiar with it, if it's new to you, it's a world-renowned fan fiction website that has fan fictions in literally every language, and you're allowed to upload original work there and put them under different tags so that you can get reviews and stuff like that. But anyway, the point I'm getting to is people have scoffed at me for not writing fan fiction in the circles that I'm in, because if you upload original work to Archive of Our Own, sometimes people will be like, well, no one cares about this because it's not like Inuyasha themed or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? You need to try new things occasionally.
Yeah. Well, somebody wrote Inuyasha, so you can't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
what if you wrote something just as cool as Inuyasha?
I'm saying, man.
There needs to be a little more cohesiveness between the original crowd and the fan fiction crowd. I don't think that it's something that should be looked down on. Trying to pass it as your own is not a good idea, obviously, but
Nah.
okay. Well, I did think that was interesting that you kind of had that progression from the fan fiction into building your own universe. You didn't mention that in your submission, and I always think that that's a pretty cool thing. So, with Room with a View being, I guess, fair to say that it's the closest one that you have to being utterly completed and ready for its cover and ready to get posted up on as a published work on Amazon, is how you started. Is that the route you're going to go back to whenever you think that it's ready to rock and roll?
I'm thinking I'm probably going to print on some like third-party website just so that I can hold a physical copy in my hands and just feel good about it before I make all the final decisions and send it through the way I'm officially going to send it through, which will probably be Amazon.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just because it's the most accessible.
It gets it in a lot more places than just on their website too. So you'll be able to definitely do that. It just kind of focuses in all of the e-copies through Amazon specifically. Have you thought at all about publishing it as an audiobook or anything like that down the line?
Actually, I am working on an audiobook, but I ran out of funding, so to speak. I had a source of income for a while. I struggle with income as a disabled person. I have trouble keeping a job and getting income. And so for a while I had some money to commission artists and voice actors and people like that and musicians and stuff to help me put together an episode. But there's only one episode and it's not finished. It's a beta episode for people who are interested. It's just the first chapter of the story and it's up on a Bandcamp that I can get you the link to. But I want to continue working on it if I have the freedom in the future, but right now it's at a standstill because I just don't have the resources to make that happen.
Okay, well, definitely send me that link, and I'll put it in the description below for the video when it releases, and then people who want to can check that out. It's interesting that you're going the full-blown route with music and everything to go with it. That sounds interesting. I don't know that I've talked to anybody else who's done that yet off the top of my head.
A closer word than audiobook would be audio drama, because I grew up in the Hitalia era when they would post the audios of the voice actors in character doing the bits with each other, and they would have like a whole soundtrack for it and everything and the script and everything. And like I really have a lot of respect for voice actors and people who work on audio dramas because I feel like it's a very overlooked form of art online and it should be more appreciated than it is. I think it's underappreciated. Voice work is underappreciated.
Yeah, unless you're one of like the big greats like Simon Templeman, or David Hayter, or two of the biggest voice actors that I think of, like maybe in my household, a household name, excellent like voice acting, and they're known for having their distinct voices, but there's a lot of people who are trying to aspire to those same heights too, and I agree, those people should definitely get their names out there and appreciated for what they do. Let me ask you, like, to tell a little bit about the storyline as much as you're willing to give out, just as a teaser for anybody who may be wanting to look out for it.
Well, before I do that, one thing that I did want to mention is that this story is personal to me. Back on the topic of hating the protagonist and writing a very like evil and easily dislikable protagonist, like he's not completely irredeemable. Like he could probably do something that you could be like, well, you did shitty things, but whatever. Like, okay, scratch that. He's really not irredeemable. Like he's not a redeemable person. But I didn't want to make him so bad that you just like take a sledgehammer to him immediately. I wanted you to feel pity for him, and I wanted to kind of humanize Emery as a character, even though he's a predator and even though he is like an antagonistic character. I wanted to look at Emery from the perspective of like, okay, so I know why I know what these men act like. So if they act like that, why the hell did they act like that? And I sort of explored reasons and played with reasons why someone might develop the mindset that Emery has in Room with a View. I explored misogyny through a very strange kaleidoscope, and this is how I ended up with this character.
Oh, that's probably not an easy way to explore a character. There are easier ones for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Emery does come off with a certain.
He's a scathing. I can't find an appropriate word to use, but he's scathing.
Well, whatever the negative connotation is for arrogant is just absolutely. Arrogance too nice. You hear about serial killers, having, and if he didn't run into Delilah, what would he have eventually turned into?
Who even knows? Because it is a big what if that you just kind of sit there and when you start to realize the direction that the story is going in, because I really wanted to write it so that a man who felt the same way about women that Emery does would start reading it, and then when he got halfway through, he would realize that it wasn't his story. I really, really wanted that, and so I wrote Emery just to be a total D-bag and be relatable to that kind of person. And it does make you wonder, what if in the middle Delilah had not interrupted his course of action or his path of evolution, and what ultimately he was capable of if he had not been, for lack of a better term, stopped.
We're keeping it vague so that you have to buy the book and read the book if you want to find out what happens, everybody. So, yeah. Well, speaking of when they can buy the book, though, do you have any kind of a timeline in your head about when it'll be available again? Are you waiting on some kind of... You sent us an image, but it didn't look like a cover. So do you have any kind of cover art in the works?
I don't have a cover yet. I would need to get in touch with some of my artist friends, but I do want to get a book out, and I want to say that it would be later this winter or next spring.
Okay, so that's not too long of a wait, and you can definitely keep promoting it on whatever social medias that you use a whole lot, that so that people know it's coming. That's actually a pretty nice size window there for you to really get the word out for it, for a big old release party and everything. And for those who like to have that kind of a story where the main character is not the hero of the story, if anything, it sounds like it's Delilah.
Delilah's a piece of work. She's got all her own caveats. She's not a good person either, but she's like, if you have to question when the bad person is doing the right thing, what are you doing wrong? Like, if something is being taken care of by the person that you consider your enemy, how are you not acting? In what way are you not acting to protect what is important to you?
Francis Morgan asking the big questions. I like it. I do love the moral quandary, though, like in a story. In anti-heroes are such like a big thing. It's a bad.
There's not a single character in this book that's likable.
I think you said that whenever you did it, but that doesn't mean that they don't accomplish something that might be what you would call, at least for a minute, objectively good.
Well, thank you.
So, positive outcomes can come from extraordinarily negative circumstances, theoretically. For sure. Emery gets stopped. He doesn't evolve into a Jeffrey Dahmer or anything of the like. So I think you took a really good idea, and it sounds like you put a lot of thought into it. So it might not have necessarily been comfortable to think about, but you put it to paper, and it sounds like it would be an interesting read for whoever is looking for a story that might take a little bit of chewing before they can actually digest it.
Yeah.
Okay, and as far as where you can share your stuff with people and they can follow you as you're working and see your cover when you get your hands on it, where would you say you're the most active on social media or Is do you have like a newsletter, a website, anything like that?
Yeah, everywhere that I go publishing my story related stuff, all of my literary stuff is going to be under FM the third, but the the is just th, and that's confusing. But I think FM the third with an e was taken, so
Okay. And are we
it's
talking like
FM the
Instagram?
third.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah, I'm on
interrupt you.
Instagram. It's okay. We're talking over each other because there's a lag. uh, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Tumblr, and I have a Facebook, but I don't really use it. I don't use my literary Facebook for very much because I don't think people go to Facebook from AO3.
That's a fair point. Um, I mean, if they try to join a writing community, they get yelled at. So yeah, that makes sense.
Happened to me.
Wow. I think that's about all the time we've got. We're going to have all of Frankie's social handles in the description below the video. And if you want to keep an eye out for Room with a View, hoping to have that out by no later than the spring. Frankie, Francis Morgan III, is there anything you'd like to say to everybody before we wrap everything up?
Use a VPN. Careful who you talk to. Stranger danger. No. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to discuss my work with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody has an additional question for Frankie that I didn't ask, that Frankie didn't answer, please go ahead and leave it down in the comment section. Frankie's going to be watching the comments after the video drops. If anybody wants to ask him a question that about the book that doesn't release too much information or anything, Frankie's going to get back to you.
Yep.
I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
I appreciate you having me.
All right, well, with that, everybody, fade to black.